In today's fast-paced digital world, video marketing is more essential than ever, capturing attention and building connections in ways that other content just simply can't. But where do you start when video just feels overwhelming? Well, thanks to AI, creating engaging, high-quality videos has never been easier. From automating, editing, to generalizing and generating scripts, AI tools, it simplifies the process, allowing businesses to find their video sweet spot, the perfect balance for content, length, and style to maximize impact. And in this episode with Lou Bortone, otherwise known as the Video Godfather, you'll see why and hear why. We'll explore how AI can streamline video creation and some of the easiest ways to get started and the best tools to help you leverage video marketing effectively. And we'll make it all as simple as possible to understand. So stay tuned. This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media and HalftimeSuccess.com, offering resources and insights for those at mid-career or the halftime of life. Explore our diverse categories, including courses, coaching, health, music, software, and travel. We're here to help you make this stage of life your best ever. So get our new articles, downloads, and podcasts by signing up for weekly updates at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Well, I'm so happy to have Lou Bortone. Lou, it's great to see you. And from our little introduction, you were known as the Video Godfather. So the moment you start talking, we will understand why.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not really sure where that came from, but somebody called me that, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. So it kind of stuck. Anyway, so yeah, I have an Italian background, and I'm obsessed with Godfather movies. And I've been doing video, like, some people call me like an OG because I've been doing it for 20, 25 years. So like,
Great.
okay, you can be the Godfather.
Yeah. That's so great. So, and so as we dive into this, I love this area actually too, because I've also been doing video a very, very long time and with a lot of, waiting for everything to render and how long it takes with some computers, and then they've upgraded and how wonderful that was. So you've gone through a lot of those same processes. So I'm really looking forward to learning some things here too. And I know you've got some secrets and tricks and to really help our audience simplify some of the tasks. People get a little overwhelmed with the text, all the tech stuff. So give us a little bit of your background in tech and how you got so involved in video creation.
Right. Yeah, I had come from the television business. My dad was in the TV business. That's his Emmy back there. And I was in the TV business as well, but always on the marketing side. So even when I worked in Los Angeles for E! Entertainment Television and Fox Kids and a few other places, I was always doing marketing. I was never doing video production. So when I went out on my own, which was, oh my God, I think 20 years this year, to do online marketing and stuff, I realized pretty quickly that video was a really great way to stand out and get noticed, especially when not many people were doing it so long ago. So I kind of, the tech kind of fell on my lap, and I always say, I'm only 10 minutes ahead of you, so I'm not really that techie. But sometimes 10 minutes ahead is enough. So, so having come from the television business, I really, sort of just segued into doing video.
I think that's wonderful. So, and it's a real niche. And that's what they always say. If a bear is following you, just make sure you're 10 minutes ahead of the guy behind you, So it's the same sort of principle. So kind of keeping a little bit ahead. So you've gotten involved in it because you've been in it. And how has that developed? I always like to try to talk about the love for a field as well, and how that keeps you going, and how much we love doing what we're doing, which I feel very fortunate to be in the business I am. And not only in, the speaking and podcasting, but I've been in the music business, still am a little bit. So more than a little bit. So, but it's it's a love of us for that creative love. So
Yeah.
you've gotten involved in this, and has that developed? It's changed a lot through the years because of automation tools. We'll talk about
Yeah,
those too.
absolutely.
So, how has
Yeah.
that love for it developed for you? Because you kind of grew up in it. Because sometimes you'll get tired of it. So
Right. Yeah,
how
and
is
it's
that?
interesting because the
Yeah.
TV business had changed so much even when I was, kind of getting out of it and decided to come back east. And this was during the dot-com boom. So,
Mhm.
I sort of went in that direction initially. But what I realized, especially watching my kids, I have
Mhm.
twins, and watching them grow up, what I realized, fairly quickly by the time they became teenagers was a screen is a screen is a screen. It's all
Mhm.
entertainment. That
Ah.
generation doesn't make any distinction between a phone and a YouTube and a TV and a movie theater. For them, it's all just screens. So for me, I just feel like as a creative, I'm like, wow, look at all the opportunities I have to get my message out or to get my clients' messages out because now we have so many different screens, and you don't have to own a TV network to be on
Right.
television, so to speak.
Wow. And we have seen that so much with podcasts, with all of that,
Yep.
and how we can get our news from so many other places. And,
Right.
I was driving yesterday, and I wasn't watching it. I was just putting on the sound of
Yeah.
the YouTube video, but informational video. But fascinating. It was a long podcast. And so, and a video, and then doing them on video. That's why I've
Mhm.
branched in making sure my podcasts are also on video, because people like to view the people, see, "Ooh, who's that look? What does he look like? She look like?" So,
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun. But you can get your information from so many areas now. So
I know. I know.
I love that. A screen is a screen. That is really very,
I
very
tease my
clever.
wife because my wife still reads the newspaper, and she's
Oh,
like, "Oh, did you see what they're doing in Portsmouth?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it 3 days ago on Facebook." So,
though, there's
Mhm.
nothing like that sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's why books still sell hard copies of book.
Yep.
I make hard
Right.
copies of, it's there's nothing like that sometimes. That's
Mhm.
a really good. So, let's talk about marketing and why
Mhm.
it's more important than ever using
Right.
video right now,
Mhm.
and how easy it is with our
Yeah.
I mean, with our phones. My goodness, how easy it is. So, why is it
Mhm.
more important than ever that you feel?
Well, we're talking about all these screens and all these opportunities to put yourself out there. The double-edged sword part of that is like everybody's making content, everybody's
Yes.
everywhere. Pick your platform, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
YouTube, TV, whatever. So you really have to work harder to distinguish yourself and stand out and get noticed.
Right.
And what I discovered pretty early on from me and my clients is that video is a way to get there faster because it builds know, like, and trust more
Mhm.
quickly than anything. I mean, you can have an audio podcast, which is great. I have one.
Mhm.
Or you can do blog posts, but nothing is faster than video in terms of building know, like, and trust. So I always say, especially those of us in marketing, video accelerates the sales process because
Mhm.
it helps people trust you more quickly.
I love that. I hope repeat that again, Lou.
Mhm.
Video
Accelerate
accelerate
sales
the
process.
sales process. Definitely. I really feel like,
Mhm.
and we see that so much
Yeah.
on our social media channels. Some people say, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just off of them now." But I tell you, the moment that you get on them and you have the video that will just run, that will
Right.
automatically run. A lot of them do. So it's
Mhm.
like I click off of things because it's like annoying, something the
Yeah.
videos are going on. But there, and then you can take, what I do too is I extract different
Right.
takeaways and all of that. There are AI tools. We'll talk about some of those, but
Yeah.
it's becoming easier than ever. And and I didn't come from a TV background like you did with the production and all of that, but
Right.
I've learned tools out of
Yeah.
necessity. And with a lot of, sometimes a lot of frustration, that's okay. But that's how you learn, you just,
Right.
you keep building upon that. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about some easiest ways to get involved with video. And,
Mhm.
there are some very easy ways. So what kind of, because you have programs that you put, in fact, on our halftime summit, you've got a program that we have on there. I will put the link to that in
Okay.
our show
Yeah.
notes.
Mhm.
because you have a whole course on this and how to help people kind of get started. And you
Yeah.
actually have done for you video stuff too. You do a great production. That's what you do now. So,
Yep.
but how do people even think about getting started? They have a little bit of a budget, hardly a
Mhm.
budget, but they have a phone,
Yep.
they have some. What do they do?
You don't really even need a budget because the
Mhm.
great thing now is, everybody has a camera in their pocket. So
Yes.
the camera.
Yes.
So, which is, better than a lot of, expensive
Right.
video cameras were just
Hmm.
a few years ago.
Right.
So the fact that we've all got the ability to click record anytime, anywhere, night or day with a phone, which we probably already have with us, whether it's an
Right.
Android or iPhone, doesn't even matter.
Hmm.
Um, video is more accessible than ever.
Yes.
You don't need a lot of gear. I mean, I kinda
Hmm.
overdo it sometimes on my lights and all that kinda stuff,
Yeah.
and I use the excuse like, "Oh, I have to test this product to make sure it's okay to talk to my people about it." But the truth is, you really don't need a lot. So you can get started with I know a lot of folks who just do iPhone videos. I mean, that's the whole TikTok, Instagram Reels craze because you don't need to
Right.
you could be literally anywhere.
Right.
And there are other things, once if you're thinking about it strategically and you're saying, okay, I like making quick little reels or whatever, but how am I going to do this to move my business forward?
Mhm.
There are so many different ways to use video. And one of the ways I
Mhm.
tell my clients to get started, because it hits checks a lot of the boxes, is just to do a video email, a quick outreach. You can record it on Zoom or
Mhm.
Loom. So a lot of
Mhm.
times when I'm reaching out to folks, I'm going to
Mhm.
send them a video email that's it's
Mm.
personal, it's engaging, it's right to them, you're saying their
Mhm.
name. And I know because I do a lot of email, my email open rates are about 15 to 20%. My video email open rates are 80%. There's something about that video, like, oh, somebody made a
Wow.
video for me.
Right.
So not only is that a great way to do outreach and networking,
Mhm.
but it's also a great way to start to get comfortable on camera because you're only talking to one other person usually. Sometimes I
Right.
do video emails like to my membership group and things like that. But
Mhm. Right.
it's I find that the receiver likes it. It's not intrusive or anything. And the
Mhm.
sender is starting to get practice, get comfortable on
Mhm.
camera, get used to seeing themselves on camera. So I think that's a really good way to start because it's
Yeah.
kind of low hanging fruit. Um,
Yeah.
from there, if you decide, oh, I'm going to do a series on YouTube, or I'm going to do live streaming. So there's a lot of different ways to come at it,
Mhm.
and all of it's really just about how are you most comfortable getting your message out there.
Oh, I love it. And I really loved the statement of, "Oh, I have to test this product." It's
Yeah,
just anybody who's in this field, "Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, I
mhm,
needed another module. I needed another something. I just have
yeah,
to or I have another gadget that I have, a little switcher, a little,
yeah. Some
whatever."
people do. Some people buy shoes. I buy lighting. Like
Yes, I know, I know. I totally get it. Totally get it. I have to tell you. Um And you don't have to be a deep techie for this. You just, lighting is important, by the way. And I have different lights and actually I have a couple different cameras, but with your phone, there's so many possibilities. Now,
Mhm,
when we talked about the phone, this is
yeah,
a question I usually have because you always see the TikToks and you see the
right.
stories and how they're with the
Mhm,
long thing. But then we have the regular wide view as
right.
well.
Mhm,
What do you suggest if people are starting there? Because the YouTube channel, you're going to want to have the regular
right.
format, the
Yep.
wide format, turning your phone on the side. So,
Mhm,
how do you suggest people really kind of start out, just starting out with some stories, starting out with TikTok, all of that,
mhm,
and then branch out maybe to the YouTube format? What are your
right.
suggestions?
It really depends on your goals and your audience. So, I mean,
Okay.
YouTube's a great place to start just because it's so huge and everybody knows
Mhm.
it, everybody uses
Mhm.
it. So, I usually start with a horizontal standard video. And
Okay.
from there, I can edit it or change it into a portrait or vertical video
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
Instagram Reels and TikTok and YouTube
Right.
Shorts. But
Right.
if you say, I'm only going to do YouTube Shorts, I'm like, okay, great. Use your phone and do it vertically, and you're all set.
Right.
So, it
Yeah.
kinda depends where your audience is, like, I kinda made a conscious decision that
Mhm.
I would pick 3 platforms for me. It's LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and sorta concentrate on those, and I don't ignore Instagram and the other things, but I certainly
Right,
don't spend as much time on them as I do
right,
on and the reason I picked those platforms is because that's where my audience is. If they were,
right.
know, 18 years old, they might be doing TikTok and Instagram Reels and whatever
Right.
else. But
Right. Yeah, and that's smart because you can reformat those fairly easily. And there are so many. I know you are linked with AppSumo as well. So am I. I'm always looking for deals. And I've got
mhm,
some great tools on that.
yeah,
Kind of from some startups. And there's always risk with that. Are they going to go
yeah,
out of business and you won't be able to use it anymore? All of that. But I've really had very, very good luck, but especially on extracting shorts and being able to
right.
format. Oh my gosh, that has changed my
Hmm.
life with as much
Yeah.
content as I put out. I put out a lot of content.
Hmm.
So if you're just kind of starting out, that's very, very feasible. There are some tools free online that you can go and, and do a lot. We'll talk about a couple of those things that you can
Hmm.
start with too, because you are very much into that scene as well.
Yeah.
So
Much.
um, it's I tell you, anything to make this easier and simpler
Hmm.
because we have been there spending hours and hours and hours with this.
Oh
I
yeah, I remember the
totally
days when you'd have to record a video and then let it render, and you go out to dinner, and you're
and it's
still
still
waiting for it to
rendering.
finish.
Exact
Yeah.
took forever,
Hmm.
forever. And that's kind of a joke from my husband too. Oh, is it still rendering? Oh no, I got a
Yeah.
new yeah, it's
Right.
different now. Yeah, but it changed my life with the, upgrades. But
Hmm.
so and let's talk about AI a little bit because it is not
Sure.
the enemy, it is our friend. But we need to understand how that works with video. In fact, this next book I'm coming out with
Mm-hmm.
this year, probably mid-year, it'll be out. It'll actually be ready and out. But I'm approaching AI as well because it's so important in our businesses. It's something
Yeah.
to understand, not be afraid of, to
Hmm.
use to help us move ahead,
Yeah.
not just to be a substitute, because we were just talking about AI and music, and that is an issue. We can talk about that if we want.
Yeah.
But how can we use AI to make video even more simple for us?
Hmm. Yeah, it's been a really interesting journey the last couple of years as AI has become more and more prominent. And there are some people like, oh my, like you could say, oh, I'm a video editor, nobody needs me anymore. But
No,
actually, the opposite has happened
it
because
is.
people want to know how to do it,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
a lot of times they either don't want to do it themselves or they want to make sure that they're doing, the right practices because the marketing, the sort of the marketing doesn't change. The
Right.
principles don't change. The
Mhm.
tools are what's changing. And if anything, it's just getting a lot easier. So,
Right.
like you said, if you do a horizontal video now, it's really easy to repurpose that and
Mhm.
restructure it to go on different platforms. And a lot of times I talk about somebody finding their video sweet spot because you got to figure out what is your thing? What is your, what's the type of video that you like to do the best? And is that what your audience wants to see? And when you find where your audience is and what you want to do, then that's kind of a sweet spot. Because I know folks
Mhm.
who love doing live video and they're really good at it. For me, I'm like, maybe I'm too much of a control freak, but I don't like live as much.
Yeah.
Some people are really into podcasting, but you got to
Mhm.
kind of find that because if
Right.
you say to somebody, you have to do live video and they don't like live video, they're just not
Mhm.
going to do it.
Right.
And
It's a little humbling, okay, because I've come from the recording,
mhm,
so much recording. I tell you, lots, lots and lots of recording. It's very humbling to listen back to what you've
yeah,
produced or to watch back what you've produced with video. You
yeah,
stand back and you go, "Oh, look at I didn't get look at my hair's out of place. Or look at
mhm,
that's you have to let things be." And
right,
and and then there's this big emphasis on authenticism. Okay,
mhm,
authenticism doesn't mean that you show up in your bathrobe and your,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
hair, that does not mean that. It
mm,
just means that you're honest and that you
yeah,
can look into a camera and be honest. And so, and not be afraid, not be so critical of ourselves. There's that imposter syndrome, and it's just talked about all the time. I just talked to a client the other day. It's just constant. Doesn't matter what level you are at. That
mhm,
is, that's always coming in there. So, but we can be so self-critical, and I've,
right,
I've had to be critical when I'm talking about producing albums and producing. Okay,
mhm,
so we need to, tweak this, that lyric. I need to tweak a lyric here. I need to tweak, that sort of thing. But at some point, I put it out to the world. It's done.
Yeah.
It's out there. I've known people that have never released projects because they're so picky on it. So
Right.
talk to us about that with video,
Yeah.
because video is even more transparent because they can see you and some sort of clues to help people through those mindsets.
Yeah, that brings up a couple things because I know you as a performer and a musician, right? At
Mhm.
some point,
Right.
you've got to put it out in the world. And for
Right.
me, it was like coming from the TV business
Mhm.
and watching TikTok videos and jump cuts where, where it's like, oh my God, somebody made an edit and it wasn't a smooth dissolve. It took
Yes.
me a while to be okay with jump cuts,
Yeah.
but that's the like that's where the world is. You got to do that. You have to find a happy medium between I want this to look
Mhm.
my best, but I don't want to
Mhm.
obsess over it so much that I never put it out. And the other thing that brings up about AI is I could go to HeyGen and pay for an avatar to say my speech or to do my whatever and have a fake person doing it. But how does that help my brand? Like I always
Yeah.
tell my folks, your face on camera is your most powerful marketing tool.
Oh, I love
No matter
that.
what the AI is, no matter what the technology is.
Yeah.
Um, and there may be times when it's appropriate to have an avatar or
Mhm.
a bot spokesperson, but for the
Right.
most part, you mentioned authenticity.
Mhm.
I don't think you can get that from an AI avatar that you get on HeyGen or something like that.
I love that. I hope that encourages so many that are listening to this and thinking,
Hmm.
okay, okay, I've been waiting. Like, okay. But it's very, very important. And I do see videos out there that I'm thinking, okay, you could have put a little makeup on, you could have done a little bit of this, but still, nothing wrong. You're taking a walk, you're doing that, nothing wrong with that, because
Hmm.
if that's part of your brand, that's
Yep.
that's perfect then. That's
Hmm.
actually wonderful. So to be able to do that. And so, it's a marketing tool using this video,
Yep.
and it's such an amazing tool. I mean, it's from coming from where I'm sure you've come from part of that too, with the amount of technology now that's available is, I mean, light speed ahead
Yeah.
of
It's crazy.
where,
I mean,
yes,
we talked
actually.
about like the old days of doing video in Final Cut Pro or whatever, and now you put a
Mhm.
prompt into
Yes.
ChatGPT and you have an
Yes.
like I did something yesterday, just with some little iPhone software,
Mhm.
me instead of a chick coming out of an egg, it's me coming out of it. I'm like, oh my god, this
Oh,
is
that's
crazy
great.
with a
That's
prompt,
amazing. That's amazing. And
and
I love Final Cut
I
Pro
wasn't on
because,
video. Yeah,
oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I love Final Cut Pro because I've used it for years. And if I'm
yep,
doing a longer form video, if I'm doing something like that, I want extra edits. I still
yep,
import into that, and I work with that because I've worked with it so many years. But again, I was on the version that you have to wait for the rendering, and all of
yeah,
that for way back. And I think my first version was the educational version because I was teaching
yeah,
college, and so I got all the educational rates and stuff like that. But
hmm,
um, yeah, and it's still a very, very powerful program. I love it.
yeah.
It's
But the nice thing about
wonderful.
AI is you
Mhm.
don't have to
Yeah.
learn Final Cut Pro. You don't have to
No.
pay whatever it costs to do it. There's no,
No.
and we could talk about AI, but there's video
Mhm.
editing
Mhm.
software that is just ridiculously easy
Yes. Yes,
now.
and you're gonna give us some of those,
Mhm.
tools, and we can reach that too on your,
Yeah.
website, and, we will get all of that. So, we've talked about that video sweet spot. I loved that on where, you're, um, marketing what you love to do, who your audience is, and that's a big deal. Who is your client?
Yeah.
Who are your audience? Who's listening? Who's watching this? And you
Yep.
can see that a lot from, your social media, but also just from, your business and
Right.
your client list and all of that. You can kind of see who's gonna and what the image is, all of that.
Mhm.
So and in my image, sometimes I'll wear a jacket, sometimes I'll just wear,
Mhm.
a different sort of t-shirt. It's all over the place
Yeah.
where, and so we don't have to worry about just image all the time. There are certain,
Mm.
if I was an attorney talking about, you know,
Yeah.
certain areas of just, I'd always be dressed some way
Yeah.
different. So,
Yeah.
that's a different thing too. So, um, what are some of those simple
Mhm.
tools? We talked about the more involved tool, which is the
Right.
Final Cut Pro, which I'm very familiar with. What are some of the others? Can I
Um,
know you use
the script is
Pictory
really
and some
my
of that? And Descript. Okay.
Descript.com is probably
Okay.
my favorite. I've been using it for a few years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really changed the way we edit video, because now the way it works with that is you edit the text or you edit the document, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever changes you make to the text are reflected in video. So the first time I
Mm-hmm.
saw that, I was like, oh my God. Um, but the other thing about using that software, just before we talk about that, is it just made me think of something, is that you talk about, like, okay, do you show up really, really professional or just as you are? Because
Yes.
it depends on the video, because I make a distinction between quick
Right.
videos and keeper videos. If I'm
Okay.
making a video and I'm selling $1,000 product,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to show up in a t-shirt and
Right.
messy hair. If
Right.
I'm making a live video that I just got to get this message out really quick to remind folks about something, anything goes. So
Right.
you want to
Right.
make that distinction between, is this a quick video or is this a keeper video?
Yeah. Really good point. I was trying, the moment you said in messy hair, I'm thinking I could never imagine you with messy hair because you do
That's why I
keep it
cut it all
fairly
off.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so cute. But no, I mean, that's very true.
Hmm.
And to see how, what the video is for, the purpose of the
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Very, very good point there.
But
So,
either way, that software, the AI stuff, takes out a lot of the overwhelm and the
right.
intimidation, because
Yes,
I tell folks, if you can edit a Word document, you could edit a video in
right.
software like Script. And that's not the only one, but that's sort of my
Right.
go-to,
Yes.
just because I can now, remember, like, think about Final Cut Pro. I realized
Right.
when I watched one of my videos, I'm like, oh, I have 133 ums and ahs in there. So in
Yes.
Final Cut Pro, I have to do a little slicing and dicing, and on
Exactly.
Descript, I just go, ooh, filler words, boom, gone.
Wow. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy of what some of that software does for you now.
Hmm.
And the best takeaways. I've found this now with podcasts and the different formats. So it'll
Hmm.
give me suggestions and I still edit. I still go through it
Yeah.
and say, okay, that's long enough. I'm going to cut it here or take out these words and it'll do that for me. But so there's a little editing on that back end, but oh my
Hmm.
gosh, that has changed my life.
Yeah.
Of just the time involved. It's a time
Mm.
suck to do all of that by hand. And so it's a tool. It's it,
Right.
and not all people need that tool quite yet. But if you're
Hmm.
going to embark, start very, very simply. That's usually what I suggest. So,
Yeah.
yeah, some of those AI tools, then you've talked about recording on a phone. That's all you
Hmm.
need. But what are some other, maybe some tools you like? Descript. We'll put the
Yeah.
that software, that link
Right.
into
Yeah,
the
Descript is definitely my go-to.
mhm.
I think you mentioned
Pictory.
Pictory.ai,
Love
kind
Pictory.
of cool,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
there are times when you don't need to be on camera, or
Right.
sometimes, like, I take
Hmm.
my client's
Hmm.
audio podcast and put
Right.
it in Pictory,
Hmm.
and Pictory
Yes. It will
finds the
put.
image actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like instant
Yeah. You were cutting out
video,
there a
just
little
add
bit.
one. Pictory's great. Oh, I'm sorry. Pictory is great because you can just, put in an audio or put in whatever you want, and the images will match the words for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go in it and
Yeah.
change things around, but
Right.
what a huge head start to say, like, okay, now I've got a video, so all I have
I
to
know.
do is go into Pictory and clean it up a little bit, or
Yes.
I don't like that image, I'm going to switch this out. But it's just a huge, huge head start. It's like having a template for
It really
video.
is. It's
Hmm.
it's amazing, and I use it for podcasts as well. And it's separate than the takeaways because I could put an image of the podcast title, but I could put other images, and it'll find images for you, and
Yeah.
then you can change them because
Yeah.
I don't always use what they
No,
suggest,
no.
but it at least gives you some suggestions, and it gives you this bank of material that you can use that you don't have to license. It's already through the program. So,
All in there.
we used to license all of these. I mean, I've licensed pictures for my
Yeah.
books, and now there's so many it's already available through some of these
Yeah.
programs. So finding some of these areas, and I have different programs now where I can download some extra video or I can download extra photos, and especially because I put out a lot of images and
Yeah.
memes and all of that. So it's become a lot more handy that way for content creators.
Yeah.
So
I
which
know
is
you just have to go and search, like, oh, I've got to go to stock photos, and then I got to
right.
find my stock music if I want
Yeah.
royalty-free music. And
Right.
now Descript, Pictory, I mean, many of
Mhm.
these platforms, another one I
Right.
use was Hedra.com, Hedra, where,
Mm-hmm.
again, you're sort of putting in a prompt and
Right.
saying, oh my gosh, it gave me, uh, all the images, and sometimes
Right.
create the images really from scratch and just say,
Right.
make a photo of blah blah blah.
Right.
And
Right.
once in a while, you'll get 3 arms or 7 fingers,
Mhm.
but
Right.
but for the
Yes.
most part,
I find
uh,
that with Canva too, because I've played around with some of their AI tools. Some of them I have used, they've been amazing,
yeah,
but some of them with people or with the
mhm,
text, it's really
yeah,
weird. So
yeah,
you just have to be able to experiment and
mhm,
not be afraid to experiment. Takes a little
yeah,
time, but what I have emphasized too with using AI is when it's on your specific account, all right?
right,
So that the AI tends to know what your choices will end up being
mhm,
or what you want. So
yep,
that it learns from that, which is
right,
wonderful, which is the chat GPTs. It'll learn from that
mhm,
and I usually use chat GPT just to help me enhance text or
yeah,
reword it to make this sound better. I mean, I have an awkward sentence, make
yeah,
this sound better. And it'll end up learning what my style is, how I write, which is
yeah,
pretty
it's
amazing,
great.
with
Mhm,
that. So, what are some other tools maybe that
mhm.
you use?
I love Notebook LM, which is a free tool from Google.
Okay,
Um,
yes,
and Notebook LM is interesting because it only creates outputs based on what you put in. So if you
right.
tell it to, go to this website or look at this video, or you can put in pretty much anything: text, PDFs,
Mhm.
audio, and then it will give you whatever you need based on that. So it's not going out and hallucinating like ChatGPT sometimes does,
Yes,
because
that's
it's
true.
only using the footage or the
Mhm,
whatever that you're giving it. So you can upload your sources. So
mhm,
oftentimes, like if I have a client meeting
mhm,
and they're
mhm,
new to me,
mhm,
I'll put the website into Notebook LM and I get like 10 seconds, and I've got like an overview of their company, a frequently
mhm,
asked questions, a briefing doc that would have taken me, a day
mm.
or that. And
Wonderful.
then when it gets really crazy is they have something in Notebook LM called, I think it's called the deep dive audio, but it's
Mhm,
basically a podcast with two AI hosts, a male and a female, and
mhm.
they sound so real that it's scary. I mean, it's just
Wow,
like, oh my God. So I
wow.
put my stuff in there. If I put my website, loubortone.com, into Notebook
Mhm,
LM and then
mhm.
tell them to make an audio, they're going to do an interview about me and my website.
Wow! Okay, so
Right.
that's great. I will put
Yeah.
that link in there too because I've experimented a bit. I use ChatGPT. We use a bunch of other stuff, but
Mhm.
not as much on that. The
Yeah.
notebook, there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah. Right.
You have to pick your tools, okay? You have to pick your
Yeah.
tools. And when you have stuff to get out and you have appointments and you have all of these other things going on, there's that's any engagements. So there's
Yeah.
only so much time that you have. So you have to evaluate. That's one of your most valuable resources is your time.
Mhm.
So yes, but I'll put that link in there too, because I've used the actual AI tool through Google. Now Microsoft has it all, they're all coming up. Okay. So they're all wanting
Yeah.
you to click on their tools and use those and use their
Mhm.
AI. And then they can end up giving it to you free. And then they're going to end up charging more, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
and
but
they're getting, like,
it's
better every day by almost by the
really,
hour. Like, "Oh, now it can reason, and now it can do this,
yeah,
and now it can,
yeah,
understand
yeah.
your tone," and, that kind of thing. So
It
that's
really does. It's really, really improving, and we were just talking about, with the arts too, that's the generative AI and how
mhm,
that is really, really growing, and it's kinda scary for some, with your intellectual property, but you just have to you've always had to with intellectual property, you've
yeah,
always had to kinda monitor it anyway.
right.
It's that's not changed.
Mhm,
If you're a company like Disney, which I've worked with years and years, still do actually doing work for
mhm,
them, but they monitor very carefully. So, but they have the resources to monitor very carefully
mhm,
worldwide. Okay, so
yeah,
but we are not like that. I do not have those sort of resources to do
mhm,
everything they do. But it's very important for us to be our own watch. We have to watch what our content is as well,
mhm,
and then like in songwriting, you
yeah,
can use up to 5 notes. Okay, but that might be debatable in the way
yeah,
they're put together, or you
mhm,
can't copyright rhythm, you can't write, all of that. So there's
yeah,
different different places. You just have to study that and know what that is, and be aware
Mhm.
educating yourself with the use of AI. But humans will never be, I don't think will ever be out of the picture. There's always going to be creatives.
Mhm.
So definitely. Any other thoughts on that?
It's just funny how the more you start to use those tools, you
Yeah.
learn the tool learns you. I watched
Yes.
an AI masterclass on one of the masterclass things recently, and one of the takeaways was if you tell ChatGPT that it's really important and you're going to get fired if you don't get it right, it gives you a better
Oh,
answer.
wow.
I'm like, all right. So now I go into my ChatGPT and say, look, if this isn't good, I'm gonna get
I'm going to
fired.
get fired.
And it will try to do a better job. And then it talks back to you, like I said, write a 5,000 word, blah, blah, blah. And it gave me
Yeah.
2,000 words. I'm like, that's not 5,000 words. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm so sorry. Let me try again.
You know, oh,
You're going back and
that
forth
is
with this
really, really
machine.
funny.
Yeah.
So it feels kind of like a person. Isn't that funny? But
Mm,
I've always told people too, even when you're using these tools, always edit. Always,
yeah.
always, always
You
edit.
can't just cut and paste with this
No,
stuff.
no, you never do. Ever, ever, ever.
Mm,
So there's always, that it can even change about what you originally write. That's usually what I
yeah.
use it for most because I write a lot, but then
Yeah.
I'll tweak it. So, but
Hmm.
always checking sources, very important because it's giving me sources that are not correct either. It doesn't go to the
It
right
told
link. It just, yeah.
I asked ChatGPT to do a bio of me, and it said that I
Mhm.
was the vice president of distribution for Warner Brothers Pictures. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
well, that's nice. Yeah.
Where's my
I
check?
guess I am. Yeah. Where's my check? Right.
So
That
you
is
do
so
have to
funny.
check it, and you do have to. I mean, the nice thing is, you're not necessarily always staring at a blank page, or if you're doing a video, a blank screen, because you can use Pictory or ChatGPT or
Yes.
Perplexity or whatever to at
Yeah.
least give you that nudge, like, okay, here's something to
Right.
start with. Now take it
Right.
from there.
Right. I love that.
Mm,
As to be able to have, it's so good for being creative.
hmm.
To be able to not be able to just look at things thinking, I have nothing. I just have
Yeah.
nothing. Give
Hmm.
me some ideas. I do this a lot with like titles for things too. Give
Yeah.
me some other ideas because if I'm sending out an email, and
Hmm.
if I'm going to resend it to people that have not opened it, I'll
Yeah.
send it with a different titles. Well, so
Hmm.
how many titles can I come up with? Sometimes, okay, so just
Yeah.
give me some ideas and it spurs some ideas for me from my original title. So that's very, very helpful for me as one that puts out 2 emails a week. You even send out
Yeah.
more, Lou. I see
Yeah.
yours are always coming, but at least two. And then I have different mailing lists as well. But those are the basics. If you're going to get my newsletter, if you're going to get my podcasts,
Yeah. I
so.
also
But yeah, there's all of that is it's very, very helpful. So,
Yeah,
did you
and I
have
was gonna
something else
say,
to? Mhm,
yeah, I was just thinking like another use case that's really good for
mhm,
ChatGPT is
mhm,
you and I occasionally do affiliate marketing, so we're
mhm.
promoting other people's products or services,
Right.
and they send us, what's called in the biz swipe copy. So,
Yes.
if a lot of different people are promoting this, they're all gonna be sending out the same generic swipe copy. So I
Mhm.
take that, put it into ChatGPT and say, "Put this into my voice," and I still edit it after that, but when I take their
Yes.
generic copy, so I've got something to
Mhm,
start with, and
mhm.
then it puts it in my voice, and it might throw in a couple of bada bings or whatever the expressions they use,
Right.
and then
Right.
it's like, "Okay, now it's not generic, now I've
Yes.
customized it." So
Cool.
that's another really good use case for ChatGPT.
That is very, very cool. I hope people are because it's so easy. It is just
Mhm,
so easy. Easy to get that free account and, all of that. So I've used part of that, just a little higher level of that, even in formatting quizzes and putting in
mhm,
prompts for those, which are very, very effective too. That is just a great thing. And we've just talked about what I was going to ask on, ideas for video, because you can put that in Chat GPT. Give me some ideas around this subject or this topic. And give me like even a sample script
right,
and it'll write out a script for you and you can edit
amazing.
it. Don't use it
Yeah,
as is the full time, but you can
mhm,
edit it and it'll help you just with that creativeness.
right.
Definitely. So,
So it's a shortcut, not a replacement. It's just a
yes.
your way to get to what you need at the end of the day.
Yes, I love that. You've had some short clip, not a replacement. You had a couple things that I wrote down that I think are very, very valuable was
Mhm,
your face is your most valuable marketing tool. That's a great one for people to remember. And, some of these tools are just they're going to expand to help you be more effective and
Right.
with all of that. So, yeah, and your numbers of when you put a little video in an email,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of free tools by that. All you have to do
Yeah.
is just to search online. Free
Yeah.
tools to do that to add, I attach them in my Gmail and whatever,
Mhm.
or in my newsletter.
Yeah.
But, you get that larger open rate, which is amazing. People will watch that just really, really little
Yeah.
quick
Because the
video.
more now that there's AI, the double-edged
Yeah.
sort of like, okay, there's way too much content out there. A lot of it's not that great.
Right.
So if you use it properly, you
Hmm.
can kind of stand out from all that and not get, like just don't get chucked in with everybody else
Right.
because, oh,
Right.
that looks a little bit different. Or, I
Hmm.
mean, I was using software, like I wasn't on camera, but I'm like,
Hmm.
what can I use this tool called Hedra to make a bobblehead version of myself. And then I had my scripting it. Um, but it's like, that's just like, I mean, it's kind of goofy, but it's just a
Hmm.
different way because,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a bobblehead now. So,
Yeah, I know. It's just creative and they're fun to do if you have the time to do it.
yeah.
Those are just fun to do. So, well, Lou, give it if everyone if that listening, not everyone, but if some of the people are just listening to this, how do they contact you? What can you do for people? And
Hmm.
how do they come? Because a big deal is, okay, if I need to edit this, I have nowhere to go. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. So what can give your information at least how to contact,
Mhm.
but all of those links also will be in the show notes. So be aware of that. So make sure you click in. Sometimes I write articles too. Make sure you're getting our newsletter and you get everything. So how can they contact you, Lou?
LouBortone.com is my website, and I'm
Mhm.
Lou Bortone on pretty much all the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I don't really use X anymore, but most of the social
Good.
platforms. And sometimes I'm just helping people with their marketing strategy and plan
Mhm.
because again,
Mhm.
there's so many ways to come at it. You got to figure out what's going to work for you. And I always reverse engineer the stuff. It's like, what is your goal? Start with
Mhm.
the end, and then
Right.
think back and like, okay, this is the best way to do that. Or you should do live videos and you should do podcasts and you should do,
Mhm.
you don't have
Yeah.
to do everything. You just have to
Mhm.
figure out what's going to get you there faster.
And what's gonna, cut through.
Hmm.
Wonderful. So I hope everyone just takes advantage of that, clicks that link, and contacts you. And I usually refer video editing out. Actually, I have a team that'll do I'm very, very specific. I do all of them, mastering and do all of that on the other end of it. But, now that I have a good system for that, it opens up the world when you
Yeah.
are able to use more video. And I want to encourage everyone to do that. This has been absolutely delightful. Do you have one takeaway that you want to leave everybody with as we close this down?
I think it's that, you have to, if, especially with video, you can't get hung up on the views and the numbers and the vanity metrics because, you're not a YouTube star like Mr. Beast or Gary Vaynerchuk. It's like, but you don't need to have a million people to have a good business. Maybe you just need the
Mhm.
right 100 people, the right 1,000 people.
Right.
Um, one time my kids came home from high school and they're like, "Oh, Dad, we watched your video in class today." I'm like,
Oh
okay, that's
dear.
kind of embarrassing, but that doesn't help me at all because my market is not 17-year-old students,
No,
so
yeah. They probably saw the bobblehead. They probably thought,
yeah.
"Oh, this is so cool."
So just, be yourself and
Yeah,
don't try
yeah.
to be the next Gary Vee, just be your own version of that.
That is such great advice, and it's great advice for anybody at any level. It really is great advice. So thank you for that encouragement. Thank you for being here. Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone who has been through it with us all of this whole time with this interview. It's been just delightful. I love being able to do the technology today is just
Mhm.
pretty amazing, coming from where I've come from as well too. And so it's just really, really amazing to be able to do this. And I just love having wonderful guests like you. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And I will be here. I am here at least once a week, sometimes more. So make sure that you connect with us. And I look forward to being with you again next time. This is Deborah Johnson. Bye bye for now. Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.